Going to declare us live. Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is the Awesemo.com Golf Show. Myself, Ben Raza, here with the man, fantasy golf man, Tim Frank. What's going on, buddy? We're going north of the border today. How you doing?
Yeah, isn't this like the second oldest golf tournament on earth or
The
something? It's
RBCs, we got to deal with them. We're gonna get obviously into all of this, but we were saying before the show, in bizarro field. We got chat. What's up, chat? We see some people, and hey, Coolers is here. We're gonna dive into all that. Last week, props to Patrick Cantlay. That was crazy impressive on Sunday. What a round! I thought Adam Scott did everything he needed to do, and he still lost.
Yeah, it was a heck of a round by Cantlay. He's great. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like recency bias, but it honestly feels like right now he's like the fourth best player in the world. I don't know.
It. I saw a tweet from somewhere, and I don't know who it was. It was saying kind of similar to Bryson. Like, would it be shocking to see Cantlay just go on a run? Because he's been up there, hasn't won as much as you think he would, but man, has he been impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, he had the amateur pedigree. I think that's some of the things that people don't realize about him before all this stuff derailed him. But yeah, in college, he was looking like he was going to be a great player. So he's got that going. It's not just some guy that came out of nowhere, Joel Dahman off the web.com tour and started playing well. I mean, this guy has some serious game from back in his college days.
No doubt. So he's going to be a hot topic of discussion next week when we go to Pebble Beach. But before that, we go to Canada, as we just mentioned. It's a new spot in the schedule. They obviously must be happy because they got, DJ has to play, I feel like, because of the sponsorship. They got Rory, they got Brooks, they got a lot of people, and then they have a lot of Canadians. But the biggest thing to point out right off the bat, this isn't at Glen Abbey, it's at Hamilton, your boy Scott Piercy's playground. So what do you make of that? I mean, we don't really have course history to go off of. They last played in 2012, I believe.
Yeah, 2012, and then way back in 2006, they kind of had an odd rotation here where they played at Glen Abbey almost exclusively, and then mix in another track every now and then. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough week. So it's about a 7,000-yard par 70 tree line course. It looks like more of a short hitters track. It's definitely a less than driver track. I was reading some quotes and some things from Josh Culp on his site. So yeah, it's looking like less than driver, small greens, bent Poe mixture. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I try not to get too much into course fit, especially when we don't have a ton of data on this course. We really only have 2 years, and that was quite a while ago. But just kind of from the specs of the course, I'm thinking it's going to favor the shorter hitters. But the problem is the best players in the world are Long, DJ, Brooks, Rory. Obviously, we're not going to fade them just on course fit this week. So yeah, I think, as we get down towards the mid range and the punt range, maybe we want to focus on some of the more accurate players just based on, the specs of the course. But yeah, I'm trying not to get too much into that this week.
Yeah, I think when you really look at it, some of the guys who are a little longer, they'll have more wedges, they'll have more short irons. The length isn't an ultimate advantage. It helps if you're driving it straight and far, obviously, but this is a small technical second shot type of layout in my mind. So looking at the greens, one of the things, again, I've read what I could. They seem very sloped, so that's going to be slow greens. Got to hit it on that right section. We see some courses like that where it's almost more important to be in the right spot rather than how far you are. Because if you're on the wrong platform, you have limited chance. But honestly, I think we would both say when you don't have, it's tough when you don't have course history. This is right before a major. There's a lot of unknowns in addition to what, the normal unknowns are. It makes it a little difficult to project, but it's the same for everyone, obviously, and we can break it down. So you mentioned it, you alluded. Is there anything else before we dive in that you want to talk about for the course? Or do you think you covered it?
Not really. I thought it was strange though. 2012, there's 37 eagles, which seems like a lot for a par 70. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I think there could be a fair bit of scoring this week. It didn't seem like it played overly easy, but that seems like a lot of eagles for a par 70.
yeah. I don't know. I did look. I think, and don't quote me on this. There is a par four that's somewhat gettable.
Yeah, there was a drive, looked like a drivable par four around like 320.
Okay.
They gave up a few eagles, and I guess in 2012 the par fives are playing pretty easy. So maybe some scoring opportunities, even though you usually don't think a par 70 is giving up tons of birdies and eagles. But yeah, maybe this week. But again, it's so hard to tell. Not having an event here since 2012, it's really hard to go off any of these numbers from so long ago.
Absolutely. So we got Chad has got some interesting takes, and we're about to get to them. But before we do, we're going to start with the big boys. We got DJ, we got Brooks, we got Rory. Kuchar and JT round out the 10K, but the first three are 11,000 plus. I'll get mine out of the way. I think DJ is the safest. He's destroyed this tournament. Obviously, it's a different course, but he's used to coming up here and playing. I think his game sets up the best with his ability to hit, wedges, short irons. Brooks and Rory, they're two of the three best players in the world, in my opinion. Do you have a preference besides DJ, or are you kind of taking what I think is the most popular play up top?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. DJ feels like the best play at the top. He's just been so good this year. Really the two events where he didn't have a great finish was Harbour Town right after the Masters, and that's really like the anti-DJ course, and the match play where he didn't advance. And I mean, besides that, I mean, we're looking at second at the PGA, second at the Masters, sixth at the Valspar, fifth at the Players, one in Mexico, ninth in Riviera. Just amazing finishes at everywhere but RBC, which is a really short hitters track, and the match play. Yeah, I love DJ, just consistently good, but you could make a case for any of these guys. Obviously, Brooks, it's not a major, but I don't know what to do with them here. I don't buy into that. Oh, he's only going to win majors. He's only going to play well at majors. I don't buy into that. So, yeah, I think he's a good play. And Rory, I'm a little iffy on. I feel like, relies a lot on the driver, which that'll be mitigated somewhat this week. And his short game numbers have been good this year, but I don't entirely trust them. So I don't think it's the greatest course fit for Rory, but again, he's had a great year too. So it's really tough at the top. But I think, like you said, DJ, the safest play. I think DJ is the best play at the top.
Rory's interesting just in the sense, for him, obviously he missed the cut last week. I like him more because he did that. I would have had less interest if he just played well, to be honest. It's not a good, because the thing about Rory, unlike DJ, is he hasn't mastered that formula of like, if you want to be aggressive and you have 100 yards left, he is not good at that relative to a lot of other players. DJ, with the wedges, he really can get going. And we've seen time and time again with Rory, he doesn't always take advantage of his off the tee game. Now, he was just bad off. That was his worst off the tee game in like 5 years, it felt like.
That was insane. The Thursday where he was just spraying it everywhere out of bounds. It was so uncharacteristic.
I think 3 balls, which is just it was unreal. So again, like you said, you can start anywhere. If there's a gigantic difference in ownership, that's going to be something we'll have to break down, and we'll dive in that more tomorrow. But all in all, just looking in a vacuum, I think it's pretty clear to say that DJ has the highest floor of them. He seems to, even when he doesn't have it, consistently turn out really good finishes. JT is going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of people saw I think he was like 92 or 9,300 last week. Jumped on because, it made sense, and he showed how rusty he really was.
So I looked at JT, and he was really good in round one. He gained 4.1 strokes with the ball striking in round one, which is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. That's elite. And he just fell apart in the second round. So I don't know what to make of that, but there was something there. Like I think a lot of people are going to look at the final product of what he did. The miscut really wasn't close and say, oh yeah, he's still hurt. But I mean, he had it going on Thursday with the ball striking. The short game wasn't good, and then Friday just completely fell apart. But there was something there on Thursday that I saw. I don't love the price at 10K, but Vegas has him 14-1, which is shorter than Kuchar, who's 10.5, much shorter than Webb at 9,700. So I might go back to a little bit of JT. I mean, the numbers said he played well on Friday, and the ball striking was really good. So, I mean, he had something going, but it just kind of, I don't know if it was rust or the injury or what, but I'm not making it a complete X off based on last week.
No, neither am I. I think, and we went in, I think most people reasonable went in with the mindset last week that you knew that you're taking on some risk with a guy who's coming off a wrist and just coming off not playing. And he showed enough Not that it was good by any stretch, but it's JT. I'm going to go there, especially if people have jumped back off. I also just don't really, I'm indifferent to Kuchar, to Webb. I have no real feel on them at a place like this. I think they might be fine, but all in all, they're not priorities for me. And then we start to go, pretty much immediately to a couple guys that are like, whoa, they're in the nines. And then, you got Sergio, you got Stenson, who I think they don't surprise me in the nines. What do you make of this, though? You've got Scott Piercy. You've got, I want to say, is Bud Cauley in the nines? Where is he? No.
He's 8,400.
Thank God. Okay, I would have had to X out the pod. You do have Sned at flat K9. What do you think? Are you more apt to go with like the big names or the big price bumps?
Yeah, it's really tough. After the three guys at the top, it's really difficult. I think, and then if I was going to play somebody in the 9K range, it'd be Webb. I just think he's safer, and it's a good course fit. Sergio's interesting. Piercy at 9,300, I just don't see that. Stenson is so interesting. I just don't know what to do with him. The approach game has been so good, and I've talked about it, I think, on every pod that we've done, every show that we've done. He's gaining about 6 strokes on his approaches in every event over like the last 7 starts, but everything else has been horrible. The off the tee has been horrible. Around the green has been horrible. The putting has been horrible. And, I think this course will mitigate some of the off the tee problems he's had, but I feel like people are going to go to Stenson, and I've been on him all year, but he doesn't have a top 15 in a stroke play event. And I feel like you're just asking for so many things to be rectified in 1 week. The off the tee, the around the green, and the putting. You need it all to come together while the approach game stays hot. I don't know. It's tough for me. I think people are going to see the approach game and they're going to want to go there, and I've been on him all year, but I don't know. He just scares me. Just the rest of his game is just not good.
It's true. I am going to him. I just can't get away from these irons. I think it's just ungodly ball striking. I'm really banking, you touched upon it. I think that this course will alleviate the off the tee issues. So obviously the short game, he's going to have to make some putts. There's no doubt about it. But this isn't, a lot of times we group people, really good ball striker striking it well. This is a different level of approaches. He's gaining an abnormal amount. So that's
over a long period of time. It's not just like 2 events.
It's ridiculous. He's lucky he is, because if he didn't, he'd just have a string of miscuts. I have no problem trying to say that everything else is going to regress before the irons, because he is a great ball striker. What do you make? Because friend of the show, Gavin, is hot to trot on Piercy. He really likes him, defending champ. What do you think about him? I know you're a big Scott Piercy guy. He's playing great. Or can you not pay that kind of premium?
I just don't think I can get there for 9,300. Yeah, he won here in 2012. That was so long ago. Again, to have him $200 cheaper than Sergio, $400 cheaper than Webb, who both feel like they're more consistent, far more likely to win this event. Yeah, Piercy won here, but he's not really a winner. We see him.
Your bets can attest to that.
Yeah, I've lost more money on Scott Piercy than probably anybody in the world. I'm a Piercy guy, but yeah, I don't think at 9,300, it's for me this week. I'd much rather play Sergio, much rather play a Webb, who I think has a ton more win equity, just way more consistent, and just a better class of player than Piercy.
The thing about Piercy, and good points brought up in chat. I just worry a little. He is riding a hot putter, and it's not to say that he can't keep that up, but Scott Piercy is notoriously not a good putter. And he has gained, during this little stretch, he's gained 4.4, 3.6, 1.8, 5.3. He keeps doing that, he's going to be churning out really good finishes. That's a big ask, though, for a guy like Scott Piercy.
Yeah, I would go, sorry, I'm just trying to look up some ball striking numbers on him. I would go even one better and say he's just, horrible putter. Yeah, so if we look at the ball striking over the last 2 events, 1.64, which, that's fine. He's positive, but that's not great. And he was actually negative a half a stroke ball striking in the event prior to that. So, in his last 2 events, he's basically gained 1 shot with his ball striking over 8 rounds, which is not good, and that's not his MO. Now, prior to that, he was striking it great, but yeah, he hasn't done really what I would want to see out of him for 9,300.
The thing for me too is Sneds is a guy that you've brought this up a lot. he wins. Now that guy's got win equity. He gets going. He can make a ton of putts. He's overpriced and he hasn't been as consistent as I've liked to see him, but he's a guy I'm definitely going to have some Snedeker. There's no doubt about it. The game's a little sporadic in terms of he consistently gains around the green. His irons are hit and miss. That's what you have to deal with him. Great putter, great short game.
Yeah, and this seems like a Sned's course, a short track, and he's played well. He's got back-to-back top 20s, like you said, ton of win equity. Good on Poe. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like Snedeker this week. Like we always say, he's inconsistent. The ball striking's never that great, but when he's on, and this seems to be a Sned's course, yeah, I can get behind that.
Fair enough. So yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page. You got a guy like Webb, makes for the safest play in my opinion. Just always seems to churn out a good solid performance, and this should be a good course for him. And then for me, I'm going to look to Sneds, look to Stenson on the bottom there, and then we dive in with Bubba. Oh boy, 8K range. We've got Bubba, we got Furyk, Keegan, Shane Lowry, who came up in chat, Bud Cauley, who came up in chat. What do you make of this? This is where it already gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, no, this is just a hideous range, honestly. The whole 8K range, I really dislike. There's a lot of guys in the 7K range I like, not so much in the 8K range. Bubba is interesting. I don't think this is a Bubba course, and that's always scary when you're playing him at a place where you don't know whether he likes it, because we know he's like the ultimate course history guy. But I think at 8,900 in this field, he's been striking the ball good this year. I think he's an option, definitely not a safe option. But if I had to go somewhere, I'd probably go with him. Boy, I mean, like Shane Lowry, sure, 8th and 3rd in his last 2 starts, that's really good. But it's like hard to trust him at 8,600. I mean, really, I hate to just say like this whole range is a pass for me, but yeah, I'd play Snedeker, I'd play Stenson before I ponied up 8,600 for Lowry or 8,500 for Keegan, or even, I mean, Cauley I think is overpriced. I think he'll probably be overowned with the T9 last week and a T4 here way back when they played this event. So yeah, this is just not a range for me.
It's Bud Cauley being overowned is annoying because he's a guy I think we both like more than the public. He's been paying off. I had him really heavy last week. It's one of my only redeeming qualities. I'm going to Keegan. He went full Keegan last week. He burned everybody. The ball striking is going to be there. His short game is bad. He has not gained strokes putting in, I think it's 10 straight events, which I know I don't want to be that guy where I say, well, now it's going to turn on the 11th. It's probably not, but the point is he's holding his own while doing that. It can only go up. Unlike Benny On, Keegan has shown, even not that it's a different course, but 2018 RBC gained 5.4 with the putter. He gets hot with the putter occasionally. And I think the masses are going to totally abandon him. I have no problem with him going to, especially in a range. I'm with you. There's not a lot here. Like I have trouble getting to most of these guys.
Yeah, I don't think I'll really target any of these guys. I mean, I'm sure I'll end up with a few just when we land here, but yeah, there's not guys in this range that I'm going out of my way to play.
What about Berger though? He's flat 8K.
Yeah, I had him written down here. He's just, boy, I feel like I've been saying this all year. It just seems like he's right there. He's had positive ball striking his last 5 starts, which is really good, but it's like barely positive. It's like he's gaining like a stroke or 2 an event, which isn't great, but I mean, he's kind of consistently better than average with the ball striking. And I feel like one of these weeks we're going to get the good Daniel Berger, because he's a better player than this. I mean, at 8K in this field. So I do like him. And I mean, he's been consistent. He just needs to show a little bit more, but I guess that could come at any time. He had a layoff at the beginning of the season. I believe he was injured. So yes, I like him a little bit. And I think at flat 8, it's a little better than 8,600, 8,800 for some of these guys up top. Yeah, I'm slightly interested in Berger.
Okay. That's fair. That's a win. If I can get you slightly interested in Berger, that's a win. It is a little whack-a-mole with him. It's like, the irons are trending up. Then he loses strokes putting. And then the putter gets hot. He loses strokes on the approach. I know I'm splitting hairs a bit, but you look at his recent form. He was great 36 holes at the PGA. He fell apart, but he's shown flashes at least. And in this field at flat 8K, I don't mind going there. Chat mentioned Ryan Palmer. he has been lightly owned. He strikes it well. He's Ryan Palmer. Make sure there's not a lot of water because he'll find it. Obviously, you know how it goes. But you could go there. It's just it's a tough range to really get excited. Biergard is there. I don't think this is the best course for him. Um, it's ugly, and we're only in the eights. Usually, this is what we're saying at 6K, and then we get out of here. We have I can't end the show just yet. We got to keep going.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the strangest fields I've ever seen. It's like it's like the Puerto Rico Open with like 3 studs playing. So
the Puerto Rico Open, good times. All right, here we go. Sanjay playing for the 6th consecutive week kicks off 7,900. This guy's out of control. We got Wise, EVR, ton of names. We'll start in that high 7K range. Is there anyone that kind of stands out for you?
Yeah, there's quite a few guys.
Oh boy.
I never thought I would say this, but Jimmy Walker at 7,900.
Yeah, that's it.
Gained 3.5 strokes with the ball striking at Colonial, 4.3 with the ball striking at the PGA. So back-to-back really good ball striking performances. Were T19, T23. Made 7 of 8 cuts on the year. I mean, I don't love him, but those are 2 really good performances. So if you're just looking at ball striking, that definitely caught my eye at 7,900. I'll go back to Wise. He wasn't good last week. He lost strokes ball striking, but he had been so good coming into the week. He had 3 or 4 events in a row where he was really good. And it felt like he had a chance to make the cut. Coming down the stretch on Friday, I don't know if you were watching, he missed I think he missed like 3 sub 12 footers on like 15, 16, 17. And then he drained like a 30-foot birdie on 18, which was of no consequence. But yeah, the ball striking wasn't good last week, but it's one bad week. He had been playing really well coming into that event. I am a little worried because of the less than driver course. I feel like he does rely on the driver a lot, but he's someone I'll go back to. And I really like Brian Harmon at 7,600. I know. I don't think I've ever uttered those words in my life.
Yeah, man. That is. I did not think you were going to say him.
No, but it feels like a Harmon course, and he 6.2 ball striking at Memorial, 5.1 at Colonial, so like over 11 strokes off the tee and on approach in his last 2 events. I mean, that's really, really good. And this just feels like a Harmon track. I think 7,600. He was T27 and T31, and then he missed the cut the last 2 events before that. So that's not going to catch a ton of people's eyes, But I mean, the ball striking was much, much better than those results show. And I think this is a good course for him, and 7,600 I think is a good price for him.
He definitely was. I used him actually a lot in Showdown last week, and he was dealing. There's no doubt about it. He's fine. He's had a miserable stretch of golf.
Oh, he has. Yeah, and I think that's probably part of the reason. Well, most of the reason why the price is depressed.
Definitely. And you know what? I've been trying to attack that all year with certain guys. Does the Chilean amateur fall into that category? He's showing some life, Neiman.
Yeah, he's showing some life a little bit. I don't know, though. I don't know. I've been very weary of the Chilean amateur.
So the guys that I kind of look to in this range, I'm with you on Harmon. I totally see that. Wise, I'm a big Wise guy. I worry a bit that he can't lean on the driver. You can. It's just I don't know how much there's more risk than reward by doing that at this course in particular. So he's going to need to make some putts. He can get hot. There's no doubt about it. And I think he's just a better player than most of these guys. I don't think it's the best course fit, to be honest. The guy, and we talk about this guy all the time. There's something, obviously, multiple things wrong with me. But why do I see Noren's stats? They're awful, but I say, you know what? This could be a good Noren course. Is that bad? 7,700? The irons are awful.
It does seem like a good Noren course, but it's just, I mean, the first thing I do is look at stats. I just try to block out the name, look at the approach game, look at off the tee, and it's just not good,
It's awful.
And he was so good at the beginning of last year. He's won so many times on the European Tour. He had that stretch where he would just won, it seemed like he won 5 events and about 20 starts on the European Tour.
He was top 10 in the world at one point.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to get there. I mean, there's still, yeah, I got like other guys here I would love to play over him. I think this is kind of a loaded range. How where the 8K range I think sucks. I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys here that I think are really good plays.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. EVR is like there's so many
Yeah.
guys we didn't even mention. Chad is asking ZJ, Graham McDowell. I think the course fit, I totally get that type of player. The problem with ZJ is he's really bad at golf. That's frustrating when you play him, but I guess you could go there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the course fit for ZJ. 7,600 seems cheap. He just hasn't done too much, but he's gaining almost a half stroke
Get
with
him
the
out of here.
approach game on the year. So the approach game's been good, and nothing else has been great. Watney has just been unbelievable. I'm going right back to him at 7,500. Gained 5.1 with the ball striking last week, where he was T22. The week before, he was T8 and just like set the world on fire with the ball striking. Yeah, even in his last 4 events, one of them was a miscut, but the ball striking has just been top notch. So I mean, I think Watney and Harmon are probably like my 2 favorite plays of anyone this week.
Whew. Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah,
they're always saying that we need to get parts of the show to clip for marketing material, and that is there it is, right there, just that, no context. Put it on the board as we work down a little, because I'm with you. This is where I have a couple definitely not going to be popular plays. One dark horse for sure, and that's Russell Henley. You probably didn't think that was coming, just because why would anyone suggest him?
we've just been stuck in this like Russell Henley bizarro world where he's always really cheap. He always seems like he's a much better player than everyone else in his price range, and he just never does anything.
That's correct. He has, though, in looking over his results, they've been bad. But if you look at the stats, I think he's actually scoring a lot worse than he's playing. Gained with the irons in 3 out of 4, gained around the green in 4 out of 4. Cold putter, and he's a decent putter. Off the tee has not been good, but he's not a great off the tee player. And to me, this course, that's the least important thing. Go less than driver and mitigate it. Guy can win. He's won Shell. He's won courses that I see light similarities to. Honda, Sony, not the best comparisons, but at the same time, they're not bombers tracks by any stretch.
If they had Bermuda greens at Hamilton, I would say full go.
That's the next words out of my mouth. That's the one worry with him, because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Look to him in Florida. But you know what? I think or at least I would agree. That's as true as that is. It's also, these guys can get hot anywhere with the putter. It's just somewhat random on that front. Your boy KH Lee has withdrawn. Don't play him. Chad is making us talk about Peter Uihlein, he was the candidate. I'm branding this the fantasy golf man theory. When you have 2 straight good starts and 2 straight course history, and you're not a good player, that's the kiss of death. We saw it last week.
I mean, one of the few things I got right last week was
you nailed that.
We're not playing Uihlein, and it really just had everything to do with the fact that he gained all his strokes chipping and putting over his last 2 events, which we really don't want to follow. So, no, I have no urge. I didn't like him last week just based on really he was doing everything but smoke and mirrors and short game, and then he missed the cut last week. So no, I'm not going there this week.
Poor.
You want to know where I am going to go back to though?
John Stefani.
John Stefani.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew you were going to do that. Okay. Talk to me, because I'll let you take the heat for him. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll do like a little recap of what we said going into Colonial, where like the approach game had just been semi-unconscious. He was like a poor man's Stenson, gaining 6+ strokes on his approach at Wells Fargo, 5.8 at Nelson. Byron Nelson gained a ton. I believe it was like at Valspar. Just had these elite approach game stats. And then he went to Colonial. He actually gained 1.5 strokes on his approaches in the miscut and lost, I think it was like 5.3 putting. Like he putted awful. And that happens from time to time. And with guys I play, it happens more than from time to time.
Frequently.
But really the approach game was still good. And I mean, he's had some really elite, approach game performances this year, like 3 or 4 of them. So I'm going to go right back. I'm not going to let the miscut dissuade me, because the irons were still good. I mean, he just was just terrible with the putter. But I'm going to go right back.
Sharp move. And it's not even a sharp move in the sense that it means it's going to work. But this is, I really think, an important and underutilized kind of concept. We both had an angle on Stefani. The reason it didn't work had nothing to do with why we thought there could be success. So I'm not going to be deterred by, if you're not a top end player, if you're losing 5 strokes putting, you're probably going to get cut, honestly. What did we really see? I'm not banking on that happening. So if Sean Stefani does what we both anticipated he can do with the irons and putting doesn't make or break him, that's what I want to see. And I'm willing to buy again, and there's no one who's going to play him. He was gaining a little steam, but I'm there. So
no one's dumb enough to go back to him besides us.
No one was probably there in the first place. So
I was laughing at everybody how he was 5% owned at Colonial and how I was going to win all the money.
Speaking of guys that no one in the right mind would go to, I'm still on Fratelli. I never left. I'm just still there. He was finding some consistency similar to Sean Stefani. He was trending upward. He went to Byron Nelson, struck it great. He lost 6 strokes putting, came in 67th. Went to the PGA, which is a big ask for him. Had a 4-putt, triple bogey, and he missed the cut in relatively fine fashion in the sense that he wasn't 10 shots off the cut line. He was right there, and he just didn't have it, and that's a major, and it's Dylan Fratelli. I'm going back to him. The ball striking seems good enough, and to me, he has not got a lick out of his putter, despite being a guy that on the European Tour, that wasn't a weak link per se.
Yeah, I don't know. I really thought at the PGA, I was pretty heavy on him. I believe he was super cheap and he didn't get the job done.
6,100, something outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally named like 6 guys in this range, so it's going to be really hard for me to get to any Fratelli. I think there's just a ton of guys I like, and I don't think I'll be going there.
The one thing, and we can move on, for me that's nice about this range is the guys that I like are all going to be really low owned. So it's possible to get leverage with 10%. You don't need, sometimes you like guys and it's like, well, if I have to devote 15, 20% to all of them, I'm going to have a serious problem. Here, a couple of Sean Stefani shares will be more than plenty. That's a fact.
Oh, there's no a couple shares. It's like you got to go all in on
it's
Stefani.
Straight lock button, people.
Yeah, hit the lock button.
Man, do you have anything else in the low sevens? Because there's about 15, 20 names here, and I don't see much at all.
Not only do I not have anything in the low, I don't know if I have anything else. I think
okay, that's it.
Just done, yeah.
All right, good times. It is really, really bad. We say that every week.
Do you pay attention to the U.S. Open qualifying at all? Because that was a big thing yesterday. And you see some of these names popping up at the various regions or sites or whatever, and you got like guys like Ali and Roberto Castro, and you see him at the top of the leaderboard, and it's like I don't know what to make of that, and I generally don't make anything of it, but I know people do kind of take that into account.
Yeah, chat brought that up, and I think it's an interesting. So here's my question, and maybe this is a dumb question, but if they qualify, they would be withdrawing before it would lock, correct?
Yeah, I believe if they intended on withdrawing. Yeah.
Okay, so that's my biggest worry is that someone like Ali, he gets into the U.S. Open and he says, "Well, I'm not going to I'll just go to Pebble, and get ready, or I'll take the week off." It would be somewhat scary for me, just because I do think that adding a major when you don't know you're playing like 10 days before just has to take something from you. But at the same time, I'm not going to say I love a guy. Oh, he made the U.S. Open. That's it. X him out of my player pool. Maybe a tiebreaker, maybe a little thing here or there, but not a huge factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I should probably pay attention to it more than I do, but it's just something that I've never really. But you see it on Twitter, you see people tweeting screenshots, and it's of the various leaderboards, but it's just something I've never really taken into account the week before the U.S. Open.
You can, the other thing, it's one of those, you can talk about it both ways, because you're like, wow, this guy's playing phenomenal. He just qualified for the U.S. Open. He's in great form. I'm going to play him. You can take that same guy and say, He just got on the U.S. Open. His priority is not going to be there for this tournament. I'm going to X him out. And then you take whatever result and then you say, you see, I knew I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I think it all just plays into the fact that the week before a major, there's there's all kinds of stuff going on, and
added risk.
Yeah,
Phil
tends to
Haas
be a
don't have
high
to worry about
variance
that.
week.
Thank God. I mean, this is where, so you talked about, just to kind of bring it full circle, because I think we have to. You've got Brooks, you've got Rory, you've got DJ. Unless you're really picking them in 5 like low 7s, you're going to have to dip into someone we haven't mentioned yet. And it is really, really bad. You got like Wyndham Clark is 7K, Castro. I mean, Chad, throw him out if you have him, because we don't have much. I've seen Nate people like Nate Lashley. He makes cuts. He's 6,700. But man, I'm really surprised that there's not somebody that you can really look to here and feel remotely confident.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, I like the course fit for Castro, but he hasn't been playing well. 3 straight missed cuts. Scott Brown was somebody that I always think of as a short course, weak field, but I mean, he hasn't really been doing anything that's all that exciting. A 5th and a 7th in his last 12, or probably his last 2, 4, 6, 8 starts. I mean, there's just not much down here at all. So I mean, I'm probably going to do what you said, one of the top 3, and then really kind of balanced after that. But yeah, this is just not a range below 7K that I have much interest in at all.
So Adam Schenk is a guy I think will get some ownership despite he's cooled off a lot. He had a string there where he was playing really well, played well at Wells Fargo, a couple missed cuts, and then he was bad again. I'm probably not going to get there with him and chat, because we have sharp people watching the show. What can I say? Sepp Straka is a guy that I actually look to. The irons gained in 3 straight, 29th at Byron Nelson. You're not going to find complete golfers. So yeah, he's got some leaks in his game, but I think that's pretty good. Shout out to Justin and Chad who mentioned him. I might have some of that guy. You ever play him before?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I remember he was like first round leader at some point this year, and I believe like half of Twitter was on him that week.
Of course, just the only 2 that weren't are talking to you right now, people.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he's gained strokes on approach his last 3 events, I mean, that's definitely more than you're going to get from anybody in this range. But yeah, it's ugly. I got it here. I found a name for you. If you want a guy, and this is like a 0.2%er right here. Never heard of this dude before this week, and I honestly didn't even think he was a professional. You ready?
I can't wait to hear this. Sure.
Michael Gligic at 60.
I don't know who that is.
6,300. No, neither did I. But he's Canadian. He plays on the Web.com tour. He's won on the Web.com tour this year. His last 2 starts on the Web tour, T12, T18, 6,300. There you go. He'll be less than 0.5%.
Okay, coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
He does have some experience at the Canadian Open for the first 2 days. He hasn't found the weekend just yet, but you know what? He may be trending upward.
He struck it really good at Hamilton here in 2012. Just the putter was cold.
The putter. Yeah, I mean, Chad mentioned Cameron Tringali. He's playing okay, and I see it. The problem with him, you're not even getting it. He's 7,100, and it's not expensive, but at the same time, he's not going to open up a ton of salary.
Yeah, I was talking to Hatchman yesterday, and he wanted to play Tringali, and I said play. I tried to talk him into playing Stefani, and then Ben Coley wrote his article this morning, and he liked Tringali too. So there's some people on Tringali this week.
It's very tough. I'm going to throw a couple more names out. Tyler Duncan, he obviously showed form in his last start, but before that, it's been really rocky. Hank Laboida got some steam here and there. He consistently gains off the tee. Putter's bad. If you're in a jam, I prefer Lashley over him, but I can't believe we're even I mean, how are we even having this conversation? This
Tom
is
Hoagie, 4 straight made cuts. There you
just
go.
Tom Hoagie. I never play him, and it's just the most. That guy, every shot on his shot tracker, I think, is an error because I'm just like, this is so bad or this is so good. Like 265, 0 yards to hole on par fives, or it's just like, wow, he just hit a 60-yard wedge, 40 yards left. I don't really understand that. All right, last guy, and then we can get. Not that we haven't been getting really egregious. DJ Trahan, who's I feel like a fan favorite these days. Gaining consistently off the tee, irons are bad. Had a really nice run there before the last couple. No opinion on DJ.
I don't even have him on my sheet. How much is he? He was a late entry to the field here.
6,700. So
67. Yeah, well, he seemed to be the guy that hasn't played a lot this year, but when he played well. Plays well in these weak field events, which is why we kind of don't see him too often. Yeah, I mean, the stats are good for sure. I think for 6,700, you could do worse. And he's had some decent finishes in events like these. I think I've played him in a couple stronger field events where he was not as good. But yeah, seems to feast on these terrible fields. And the numbers are decent for the price.
Whew, it is bad down here. The last thing I'll say, and I'm not advocating doing this, but there are a couple of guys. Anders Albertson has been awful consistently for months, but he is 6,000. So if for some reason you need someone down there, it would probably be him or Seth Reeves. I would have really strongly advised avoiding that range. But man, at least you're getting a different price. That's the one thing I can
Right.
say
I mean, if you're going to play somebody terrible who's probably going to miss the cut, you might as well do it for 6K rather than like 6,500. So.
That's really what you're weighing. Like to me, the $800 you're saving, how much more likely is someone like that to miss the cut? To me, not that more likely. And now we're getting shout out to chat. Paul Barjon. He's been on fire on the Canadian tour. I don't know who that is. I will have to look at it. But if you wanna run with form, you're gonna find some guys in this field who are playing against lesser competition and dominating.
I always think it's funny that, like, as much as I look at numbers, golfers, stats, form, there's always somebody out there that knows more about. You're just like,
yeah. The odds that guy had, I don't know why I just checked to see if he had a DraftKings pitcher. That was 1 in a million that he did, which he obviously did not. This is a field that there's a lot of guys, and yeah, maybe one of them will make a move. And we've seen in years here, I remember a couple years back, there was a Canadian who made a run. But I'm going to try to avoid these guys as much as possible. But you're going to get a 1% if you're playing drive the green. You can throw some guys in there if you're MMEing for sure.
Yeah, I'd be a little weary of form on the Canadian tour, though, to be honest with you.
I play Curtis Luck, so what do I know? Best putter in the world. He needs to gain 7 strokes putting just to make cuts.
He was a really good amateur, though. There's something there with Curtis Luck.
I hope. I keep waiting, and we will see. But, tomorrow, as I always talk about, and if you haven't signed up, I always say this, you can use the promo code JazzRaz. You get half off your first month. You can get behind the paywall. You got Slack. You got projections. You got all the articles from me, Jason Roslin. You got Tim's one-on-one personal service, which you can't put a price on that. Do that. But, tomorrow night, we're obviously going to dig a little deeper into ownership, into leverage plays. And once I really build, we're going to have to see if you want, say you want a DJ and one of the 9Ks. How bad is that? I mean, do you have to start with a couple of these guys? Can you get away with one? Because I think you and me both like the 7K range the most out of all the ranges.
Yeah, 100%. That seems like a loaded range. Yeah, it's a rough week, especially for roster construction. It's difficult. It's like I wish there was a way to play like DJ and Brooks together, or DJ and Rory together, because it's just like but it's really, really ugly below 7K.
It's tough. So we're gonna have to sort through it. turning real quick, did you make any bets just yet?
Yeah, this is the first week where I really like a couple bets. I've been
Ooh,
kind of the last few weeks kind of been lukewarm on a lot of guys, but yeah, I love Harmon at 81 for all the reasons I laid out for why we like him in DFS. Last 2 weeks, ball striking really good. Not the finishes haven't been great, but the ball striking has been much better than those finishes, and this seems like a good course for him. And Watney's 100-1, and he's been, I mean, lights out with the ball striking in the last 4 weeks. One of them was a miscut, but he even struck it good at the miscut. So I really like them in this field. And it's like if you get by DJ, Brooks, and Rory, God knows where how they feel about this event leading up to a major. I mean, it's pretty much wide open after those guys. I mean, that's a big ask to beat those three, but the week before a major can be kind of a goofy week. So yeah, I love Watney. I love Harmon this week.
that's the point that I wanted to make. You've got a massive, massive chunk of win equity tied up in 3 guys. But if you survive that, it is wide open for that. I mean, we've seen a lot of winners this year come out of nowhere, but this is a week where I think, no doubt, with all the big names, especially if they're out of contention, I'm not going to say that they don't care, but their sites, they want to get some work in and whatnot. If they start off hot, sure they want to win. But this is a week I think we could see, a quality tour player, but not someone we're used to being in the winner's circle. I wish Benny On was here so I could just bet him and lose. But that is an interesting Harmon. You've kind of got me on him now, so we'll have to check that out. Any final words before we duck on out of here?
No, I think just maybe proceed with caution the week before a major. This seems like a wonky event just by the field, and definitely being the week before a U.S. major, kind of an unknown course. Yeah, I wouldn't empty the clip into this week. It's just hard to feel really confident about anything.
Yeah, if you don't do that, please.
Save it for Pebble.
No doubt. 2 things. One, chat, as always, you're on point today. If you can hit the like button, we would appreciate that. And what I want to really say is more about, the course in general. We don't know exactly how Hamilton will be set up. We're using info from 2012. We're trying to glean it. I think that lends itself to trying to build correlated lineups for some teams. I'm going to take some teams. I'm going to say, you know what? This might be a pure birdie fest, John Deere style. I'm going to build as if that is how the course plays. Maybe this is a scramble fest. I'm going to build based off that. And then if one of those scenarios plays out, I have a handful of teams that are built perfectly for that structure. It doesn't mean they're going to do good, but at least they're built for exactly how the course is playing.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense for a unknown course. And yeah, it's hard. People want to make more of course fit. They want to try and go off of 1 year of data or just kind of the specs of the course, but honestly, we have no clue how. I mean, this could come out and it could be Bomber Central. I don't know, and I don't think anybody really knows. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to see. So we're gonna get out of here. The last name, Joey Garber. Played well at Byron Nelson. That's the extent of what I've seen with that guy. You're going to get him at 1%. So I'm not sure I'll be going there, but I see how you kind of clicked on that name. On that note, though, let's dug on out of here. We're 1 week away from another major. Good luck, everybody. If you have any questions, find us on Twitter, find us in Slack. I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, with Jason Roslin taking all your questions, and we will see you then. Good luck.